Hello, I'm over here. I got up. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back to What She Said Sports, y'all. We got a great show planned for you, so I hope you got your snacks. Tonight we're talking about NFL free agency. I might throw in a Colorado observation or two, but for the most part, we're talking NFL free agency. Y'all know we're talking about the Browns. We got some winners and losers of free agency. I graded the Browns. If you were with us earlier, I'll let you know what score I gave them. I checked around for some other scores. And y'all should know your girl was right on point. Right on point. Right. And we said since we followed the quarterbacks that made history last year, plus Shedeur Sanders, who was 17 and 32, that we're checking in on some of those quarterbacks. And which I checked up on CJ Stroud and the Texans. Shout out to the Texans. And I checked on the Jets. The Jets. And of course, I peeped in. I'm in Atlanta, so I peeked in on the Falcons, and yeah, let's get going. All right, so welcome in, everybody. Hit the like button on your way in for me. This is the nighttime ride out, so this is the most flagship and official show when we get the end of the day updates. So do me a favor, do me a favor, do me a favor. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Hype me up. Hype me up. All right, so first and foremost, I did some checking, and I think I know where all of the hatred and the back and forth and the pivoting and the sabotage is coming from. Now, yes, we know the Browns, but something has transpired. Now, y'all know free agency is the first day of the season, but there has been an update. The depth charts, they were updated. Let me just show you one right fast. This is just one of the ones I was taking a look at. I'm over here to the side. Y'all see this, the Cleveland Browns, right? Who the quarterback? And before y'all say it's not updated, yes, the hell it is, because you see right down here, right tackle, Titus Howard. He just joined us, right? Then you see Tevin Jenkins replace Wyatt Teller as the guard. I have not found his contract, has not been disclosed. So y'all know this is new. And then we have Egleton Jenkins. I apologize for butchering his name. He's the center. He just joined us. So y'all know it's not last year. This not last year. And then we got Zion Johnson, the one I wasn't all that happy about spending all that money on. And apparently I'm not the only one. So as you can see, the left tackle is still DeJuan Jones. And who's gone? I don't see Cam Robinson on here. I don't see Joel Bitonio on here, right? I don't see, let's see. I see who else gone. I don't see Ethan Posick on here. Now I see Jack Conklin on here. And that should not be. But they just gave him all that money. So we're going to check in on that later on down the line, if not tomorrow. KT Levinson, still around, moved to the third string. He was third string when the season started last year. Then he found himself in the first string. And Cornelius Lucas was over here, and he's gone. And Jack Conklin is over here. Jack Conklin was here last year, and they gave him all that money, and he disappeared. So then we got Zach. I thought he was gone. Then we still got Luke, and then we have Kingsley. Now, Kendrick Green was brought in last year when Shedeur started playing. I felt like at the time that Stefanski was doing what? I felt like Stefanski was trying to prove that there should be adjustments, and you can't say there's nobody to adjust to because I keep bringing in players. And I don't just bring in players. I bring in guys that can play the left or the right, right? At one point, Kendrick Green was behind Bitonio, and I don't even know if he stepped foot on the field. So it seems that the Browns kept him around. Now, I didn't look into his contract, but as you can see, your guy is numero uno on the updated depth chart on the first day. On the first day of the official season starting, the updated depth chart has Shedeur at the 1. This is where all of this hatred is coming from. So Adam Schefter, and I told y'all about Adam Schefter now. I said Adam Schefter, whatever he says, he heard him say it. And I don't mean anybody in Cleveland. I mean the NFL itself. I also said who to listen to in Cleveland. Rizzo. Because he's the local Adam Schefter, because he heard him say it. So Rizzo and Adam Schefter both were saying that the Browns are not counting on Shedeur. Rizzo said that first when free agency started. Adam Schefter came up today and expanded on it and said he thinks Deshaun is going to be the starter, but let's see how things go. Let's see how it plays out. Now, when you look at the Falcons depth chart, they only got one quarterback. The other 3 spaces are empty. And y'all know they just signed Tua, but they didn't even put him on there. And they got a better grade than the Browns. Yes, Stefanski got a better grade, even though he ain't the GM. The new GM in Atlanta got a better grade than the Browns GM. I'm telling y'all, Andrew Berry going to be booted out. He's being criticized for who he brought in on the offensive line. I told y'all, see, I know people thought, she being negative. No, the hell I'm not. I'm well-researched. Plus, I know football. You know what? When I became a cheerleader, you know how normally when you audition for like cheerleading or whatever, you know, at some point you got to learn to cheer, right? No. When I became a cheerleader, you had to answer questions. And what my question was, what is 1st and 10? And that was easy for me because I grew up in New Orleans as a Saints fan. I just laughed that off and I became captain. Yeah, facts. So here's the thing what people need to understand. I know football. I'm well-researched. And if you want to dismiss me because I'm a woman or you don't know me or I don't work for the NFL or for any one of these big box stations, that's on you, boo. That's on you. So shout out to y'all that's riding with us. Shedeur Sanders is QB1 on the updated depth chart with the new people on it. This is why we're hearing, oh, it's going to be Deshaun. Oh, the Browns aren't moving, with Shedeur. And here's the thing. They actually might move off from him. But the tight end acquisition today makes me think he's the one that they brought in this mediocre O-line for. Because they brought in a tight end from where? The New Orleans Saints. Tyler Shaw's one of his tight end on a 1-year contract after booting out Njoku, who was a good tight end for Shedeur, like Harold Fannin Jr., who was supposed to be the future. So one of the first moves the Browns made was booting out a tight end with Monken as the head coach. And Monken was directly responsible for the Mark Andrews situation. And what position does Andrews play? Tight end. So let's see if we see the same back and forth like we saw in Cleveland with Isaiah Likely and Andrews. Let's see if we see the same type of manipulation of position and the roster in the depth chart with Harold Fannin Jr. and the new guy. I forgot his name. Jack Steele Cook or somebody. Shout out to him. Welcome to Cleveland. 1-year contract. So they aren't expecting him to be around long, or maybe, just maybe, it depends on how well he performs. I believe Njoku was booted out because he gravitated towards Shedeur. Getting somebody from the Saints who drafted Tyler Shaw and was part of that prank with Shedeur because the guy, the Ole Miss sweatshirt guy, had proprietary information from the Saints. And now they want to bring that tight end over here while Shedeur is sitting at QB1 on the depth chart. And clearly people are wigging out and putting out all kind of predictions because the depth chart was updated quietly in real time. And he's at the 1 and Deshaun at the 2. So I'm well-researched because I found that out today. So understand this. Shedeur Sanders is QB1. They're not going to talk about it. That's what he is on the roster. If you ask me, the moves that Andrew Berry made proves it because they didn't do anything to protect the quarterback. They just swapped aging bodies who can't play pass block or pass rush, run block or pass block. You can't do one or the other. And that's who you brought in on O-line, which is why they get a D. I gave them a D- and another outlet gave them a C. And I felt like, when these outlets start giving out grades, they don't want to be too harsh. I'm being honest. They deserve a D-. Why? Because the Browns did not complete the objectives of free agency, which doesn't end anytime soon, but we out of money. They have, $7 million left, depending on how much they gave the guy, Jack from, he on here. Let's see, what's his name? Let me get his name right. I want to be respectful. Jack, let's see. His name is Jack Stoll, Stoll. That's his last name. So we have Harold Fannin Jr., who's questionable. They still have him at the Q. And Jack Stoll, Brendan Bates, and Sal Canales. Now, it's Canala. I thought it was Canales. Now, that's exactly what I thought. So what does that mean? Blake Whiteheart moved up one and out the door. Remember Blake Whitehart, 86, that crushed Shedeur finger? They didn't keep him. Let's see where he lands. Just like the guy that antagonized Shiloh and baited him in. Let's see where he lands, because maybe Whitehart was supposed to antagonize Shedeur, and maybe they would have pushed him out too had he responded in the same way as Shiloh. Not that Shiloh was wrong, because when you have somebody pulling on your face mask around with your neck in the helmet, what else are you going to do than defend yourself? But we felt like Shiloh was being baited in. In that situation, it seemed malicious, but they didn't keep him. But let's see where he went. And one of the patterns I've observed is the dirt divers are gone, and Blake Whitehart is gone. The biggest offender, Cam Robinson, is no longer on the depth chart at all at left tackle, throwing people into Shedeur. And then KT Levingston is moved like a sleeper to the back again, where he started last year. In front of Cornelius Lucas, who was brought in, and this time is Titus Howard. Now, you give Titus Howard $63 million, I would expect KT Levingston to not make it back to the one if Titus is healthy. But what are we also starting to see? A trend across several teams where injuries are weaponized against players. And that brings me to who? The Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens are in damage control mode. Why? Because of the botched trade with Max Crosby. I guess they thought that people wouldn't complain or realize that they harmed this young man's player reputation by either intentionally, maliciously misrepresenting his health or recklessly misrepresenting his health. So now the Ravens are coming out and saying, what? We wanted to get both. So I'm like, wait, let me get this straight. You wanted to get Trey Hendrickson for $100 million, and you wanted to get Max Crosby for $100 million, which is $200 million. And upcoming, you have negotiations with your franchise QB to extend Lamar Jackson. So how much money were you planning to give out to Lamar Jackson if you're going to give it all to Mark Andrews and run off the other tight ends and Max Crosby and Trey Hendrickson? That's some bullshit. The Ravens GM should be fired because his actions were detrimental to Max Crosby, and it said that his valuation, his trade value is decreasing because of it. Now, one person on X decided, well, I think the GM, Roger Goodell, what is he, the commissioner? That he should ban the Ravens team from postseason play for 1 year. I said, oh, you out of your damn mind. We are not going to punish the players who work hard for the GM's ineptness or maliciousness or recklessness. And people said, whatever radio station he on, need to ban him. And I just couldn't help but laugh. Because it's true. How is it that when the light bulb in your house burn out, you choose to go sell the house other than change the light bulb? The problem is the GM. And the GM has emerged as the culprit. And fans have been pointing this out all day long. I didn't know who was in a worse position, the Browns, the Falcons, or the Ravens. But I think it's the Ravens. And yesterday I gave the Ravens the donkey of the day for free agency. And they are now the 2-time donkey of the day, or maybe 3-time now, for making up these ridiculous excuses, but also misrepresenting a player's health, resulting in damages. So is it collusion, malicious, or recklessness? Regardless, it's harmful and it can't be undone. And the GM, the Costa of the Ravens, needs to be fired expeditiously. This is not how you run a business. This is corruption if it's not managed and dealt with, just like there was no accountability after that AFC Championship game where Mark Andrews dropped the ball. And here it is, at the age of 30, he gets a 3-year contract for $39 million with most of it guaranteed for failing, just like Stefanski, failing up with $15 million a year. And the first move he made is to get Tua, leaving behind a $99 million dead cap space in Miami. But Kyler Murray just sits available. I'm pretty sure Kyler Murray is better than Tua. It's just reeking of corruption, and people starting to see it around the league. The Browns have a reputational problem. They have a bad reputation with the fans, and now it's proving a bad reputation with the players because the players don't want to play there. People are now realizing they either are incompetent and don't have money to spend, or they make sure they don't, or they just don't want to win, so they're comfortable pushing out overpaid veterans on the O-line that underperformed and bringing in the next crop overpaid. And they are unproven. Coming from the Texans, where CJ was sacked 52 times with Cam Robinson and Titus Howard. And coming from the Chargers, where Justin Herbert was sacked 54 times. And then we have Tevin Jenkins, who was here last year. The Browns failed to meet the objectives of free agency. They did not upgrade the O-line. They just got some more O-line players with low-level skill set that do not meet the criteria for protecting the quarterback. If you can't pass block or run block, should you be an O-lineman? But they brought in the guy from the Saints. Jack, is that his name? He's supposed to be an exceptional pass rusher, and we brought him in. So we are not relying on the O-line to pass block or run block, but so we're going to bring in and run a 2 tight end set so they can do it. So why we give out all this money? And that's why they got a D. I gave them a D-, because the second objective was to upgrade that wide receiver room, and they did nothing. At least they did something on the O-line, which is why I didn't give them a flat-out F like I gave the Ravens. I gave the Ravens an F-. And donkey of the day, 2 days in a row, possibly 3. But the Browns are D-. They didn't do anything at wide receiver with any of that cap space money. And they let Batonio's overpaid contract void at $26 million, which goes to dead cap space. So they really can't get nobody. Right? They kind of strapped at free agency. They have about maybe $6 million left, unless they gave Jack from the Saints all of it, all of the remaining $8 million, which means we don't have a wide receiver, or you going to go get one for $1 million, which means he's not elite. And this is probably why people don't want to play in Cleveland. And the NFL does nothing about this, but they know about it. Because NFL insiders said what? The Browns will be the Browns as long as the current ownership is the current ownership. So the league is content to allow this type of, I don't even know what the hell it is, ineptness or corruption. I'm not sure. It could be both in different contexts. But the point is, it's not a thriving NFL team franchise. That's what it's not. It's easier to say what it's not than to say what the hell it is. It's a hot ass mess. That's what it is. And nobody wants to play for a hot mess who's not contending for anything. But what you probably can do is plan your life after regular season, because you won't be in the postseason. The only way you will be in the postseason if all of these guys get together and say to hell with the front office who set us up to fail. We're going to work together and get it done. Now, that might cost you your careers. But then again, being in Cleveland probably means you're at the end anyway. So, there you go. So, as you can see, our guy is listed as QB1 on the depth chart. I do believe this is what is feeding all of these narratives coming out, that the Browns moving away from Shedeur. It's not going to be Shedeur, this, that, and the other. That's what I think it is after looking at this, knowing it has been updated. So shout out to Shedeur, because they could have put Deshaun in the front. They could have put Deshaun up there. and understand, this gets updated in real time, so it could be different tomorrow. But I said, where's all this coming from all of a sudden, right? First, it was a competition. Then, right before free agency started, it's this whole shakeup that I haven't seen yet. And we don't really have any money to shake up the QB room. What we have cap space for is to get a quarterback in free agency that doesn't cost a lot, which means we're not trying to win. And it's pointing at Kyler Murray. Now, the shakeup could actually be Murray comes in and Shedeur goes to Minnesota. That is highly likely, right? We got Dylan up here at the 2, Watson at the 3, and Dylan is supposed to be leaving, which means Watson moves to. So how is it that Watson would be the 1 over Shedeur if he's currently at the 3? Because they're expecting Dylan to move. And go where? Probably to the Falcons, because when you look at their depth chart, the Falcons only have 1 quarterback. And then they signed Tua. That's 2. Then they're going to need a 3rd. And at some point in training camp, they're going to have a 4th. And when they get to the 52-man roster, they're going to wash out some people, at least 2 people. Now, the Falcons could ride with 3 quarterbacks. But the Browns don't have any cap space left. And Kyler Murray is the only veteran that you're probably going to get for $7 million. Unless maybe there's a trade like Geno Smith. So let's move on over to the Jets. All right. So I told y'all we would talk about the Jets. And I did some studying on the Jets, and they were actually in the group with the winners. I think let's talk about the winners, and I think the Jets are in there. The Jets, as far as I can see, are being praised for signing top talent. They didn't go to the store and look in the clearance bin and take what's left. They did not do that. They invested in proven elite talent. That's why the Jets are amongst the winners. Now, when you check their depth chart, they have currently Geno Smith at the 1. One of the reasons for this, seemingly they still have Geno Smith at the 1, replacing Justin Fields at the 2, Tyrod Taylor at the 3. Why is that? Because apparently they have made it known that they want to draft 1st overall Arch Manning. Again, this kid is being predicted as 1st overall and has done nothing to prove it, but they're saying that the Jets are tanking to get Arch Manning. Now, I'm going to tell you what I see. I see the same play with Shedeur, trying to throw you off, with the Giants wanting to get Shedeur. Turns out it was the Browns he was going to. So they have everybody thinking publicly it's going to be the Jets, when privately it's going to be the Browns. Now, the owner of the Jets is in the Epstein files, and so is Geno Smith, that was just signed by the Jets. I told you that's a whole nother conversation. In keeping with the E-Files conversation, it came out today that the co-owner of the New York Giants will be selling his team, and he wants to know if he can just turn it over to his kids. My question, and a lot of people agreed with this on X, is why the hell does he get a choice? He was in Epstein files 440 times, and they want to gaslight people and say it's his association with Epstein. It's not his association. It's what he was doing in there 440 times, because I read some of it. And he shouldn't get a choice for that. We don't negotiate with hostages, but we're coddling what? PDF files? He shouldn't get a choice, and no, it shouldn't go to his family, because he'll just be right there in the shadows trying to escape accountability, and absolutely not. We're talking about we need to protect children. There need to be consequences and accountability. Let's see if it happens. Players have already said if he was still co-owner, in New York, they're not playing for him. But he want to find a way to stay in the shadows by giving the team to his kids. No, that team should be forced to be sold. This is not just about an association. This is about being mentioned in there 440 times in the context of which he was mentioned. He was buying and selling and not himself. Definitely buying. So no, he should not get a choice. All right, so on to the winners and losers. I'm shocked that Geno Smith went back to New York, but I don't even know if he had a choice, to be honest. The Jets, the Rams, and the Steelers are the best teams in free agency. Why? Because they all added top talent. So shout out to them for actually doing something to what? To upgrade their team by paying money to players that have proven to be elite, not just going, well, maybe. You're not paying for potential, and you're not paying for people who are aging on the way out. You're not just out here handing money, right? So shout out to the Jets for being on the right side of things for once. They actually get an A to an A minus. It says that the Jets signed a safety, Minka Fitzpatrick, and a linebacker, Demario Davis. So they are, I guess, bolstering their defense, and that was one of their major problems. But they also have an unsettled quarterback situation. But I do think that is because they want to draft somebody. And on the list in 2026, high on their list is Ty Simpson, the quarterback from Alabama with the second round pick. So getting good defenders makes sense. But I think Justin Fields will be the one moved out. And it was said that the Jets wanted to get a first round pick for Justin Fields. But the way they have trashed this kid and put him in tier 6 with Shedeur, they the only 2 quarterbacks in tier 6. Justin will likely be a backup somewhere. That's the plan. And that was the plan in Pittsburgh last year, but Justin escaped to the Jets. And I don't think the Jets want to win because personally, I think Aaron Glenn, which is the new head coach, they're trying to push him out. And he was going to quit. Whether y'all know it or not, he was going to resign because based on their plans and strategy to move forward, he didn't see a way that they could win, and he would just have to shoulder the blame. Now, remember, people talk about how they give these black quarterbacks these awful teams intentionally to insist that they're not capable of being coaches and they have short tenure. So I like Aaron Glenn, but I wish him well. I don't know if I'm gonna be watching them, but I like Aaron Glenn. I do. I wish him the best. And Geno Smith, that situation is a big question mark. He's sitting at the 1 because they haven't drafted anybody. I don't think. That's what I think. I don't know. But I don't know if they're going to get Ty Simpson if they truly want the Manny kid or somebody on who they think is on that level. Let me know your thoughts. So they got an A. They got an A to an A minus. The Pittsburgh Steelers got an A because cornerback Jamel Dean was an acquisition and running back Rico Dowdle. So, okay. I like Rico there. I didn't know he was leaving the Carolina Panthers, I think. But I thought he said he wanted to leave because he felt like he was underutilized. So shout out to Rico and Jamel. And then the Buffalo Bills, who fired their coach, who was actually a good coach. They said they improved the wide receiver room by getting DJ Moore and an edge rusher, Bradley Chubb. So the edge rusher on defense and the wide receiver, I'm thinking DJ Moore is coming in and Keon Coleman is going out. I don't know. We're going to have to see. Maybe we'll see a trade. Now, let's talk about how Geno Smith got over to the Jets. And this is what I mean by this could happen with Shedeur. But what I'm seeing, they're not building around Shedeur. They're bringing in people to contain Shedeur. That's why I think he's going to be right there based on what I'm seeing. Not what I'm hearing, what I'm observing. Now, one of the ways he could get out of there is through a trade, if it is what Adam Schefter said today, who is closer to the owners, that he thinks Deshaun, who's sitting at the 3, move up to the 2, becomes the 1, because Rizzo said the Browns are not counting on Shedeur, which basically Adam Schefter and Rizzo are saying the same thing, just saying it differently. Now, how could he get out of there the same way that Geno Smith got out of Vegas? A trade. Their contracts are set. They're not changing them. They're not free agents. Shedeur's contract is good for this is his second year, so he'll have 2 years after this. He can get traded with a draft pick to Minnesota. Minnesota wants to move off of J.J. McCarthy. They can send Shedeur to Minnesota because they're moving around quarterbacks, and then that competition would be valid because it's a new city. It doesn't make sense for Shedeur to compete in Cleveland when he finished the season as the best quarterback they had. Broke records and set records, and was in company with Aaron Rodgers and who? Josh Allen. So Shedeur competing in Cleveland again is asking for a PR nightmare again with Stefanski elsewhere. So the Browns will open themselves up to liability, legal liability again without Stefanski. And it will do what's happening with the Ravens, point right at the ownership or the front office, likely falling on the shoulders of Andrew Berry, because the owner is shielding himself with Andrew Berry's behavior, Andrew Berry's decisions, if you will. All right, so let's talk about the Titans. So I looked at the Titans depth chart, and of course, the overall theme for the Titans is what? Nothing to do with their quarterback. It's everything to do with their O-line. And we have two of their O-linemen, or had two. They're getting younger, just like Titus Howard said. And they even brought in a younger running back. So they still have C.J. Stroud. They still have Davis Mills and Graham Mertz. So they have those three quarterbacks. But for them, it's getting younger on the O-line side of things to protect CJ. Now, let me tell you what I see here as somebody that kind of knows what's going on with the Texans. CJ Stroud is going to be coming up for a conversation about an extension just like Lamar Jackson, okay? Just like Baker Mayfield. So you see the musical chairs with these teams, right? Stephon Diggs was over there. Then they moved him to the Patriots. That didn't work out. So he going to be somewhere else, right? He could end up in Cleveland, whether we like it or not. Because they got to get a wide receiver. And since they're considering to have a failing grade at the beginning of free agency, they might have to posture a little bit. So here's what they did with CJ. He put the team on his back in year one. And the offensive coordinator he had at the time, they dismissed him. And then they went into year two, his sophomore year. His sophomore year, he was riddled with excessive sacks, 52 to be exact, the same number that Shedeur had to endure in year one at Colorado. These are not accidents and coincidences. So here's what they're saying coming into what? This was his year three. He was sacked less. He was sacked 52 times in year two, 23 times in year three. So here's what they're going to say. Oh, we got to get younger O-linemen. So first we need better O-linemen in year two. In year three, after year three, we need younger O-linemen for year four. So he's coming up on the end of his rookie contract, and now they're going younger. Are they going younger for CJ? Or are they going younger for what happens after CJ? Let's see what happens. Because ever since CJ's been there, he's taken the team to the playoffs, even though his degree of difficulty continues to increase. Now, what I observed in the playoffs is it wasn't his O-line this time around only. His O-lineman caused, I think it was a 5 or 15-yard penalty. Typically what we see with Shedeur, when he's getting ready to hit the red zone or score, they raise up a penalty to move the team back. I saw that. And I saw 2 drops. Early on, they had CJ throwing to Christian Kirk who's a free agent, by the way, could very well end up in Cleveland. Just understand, because his value is not high. I think it might be $7 million, and we probably got that left. Christian Kirk should have not been a recipient of those passes. Nico Collins should have been, because he is the guy. He's their Travis Hunter. The second person it should have been is their Harold Fanning Jr., which is Schultz, the tight end. They didn't throw to either of them. They went to a player that only had 259 yards all season. Inexperience. So they keep switching it up. So now, since that worked, we'll just go with a younger O-line. Problem solved on the sacks, right? We can do a little penalties here and there. Christian Kirk is gone, unless they're going to re-sign him, but he a free agent. I think he gone. So who we going to get? A wide receiver to do what? Exactly what was done to Caleb Williams and to CJ Stroud. Underperformed. So the Texans are in the middle. They're not considered one of the winners. They're not considered one of the losers. I've just observed that they just getting younger on the O-line and at running back. So they appear to be doing something to bolster the team. But when it's time to throw the ball, is it going to be to Nico and to Schultz or Christian Kirk's replacement? That's the Texans. All right, so that's the Texans. That's the Texans and the Jets. Now for the worst teams. The worst teams in free agency. The Titans and the Browns for overpaying for unproven talent. They are listed as the worst. The Saints were on there too. The Saints were on there too, as well as the Indianapolis Colts. So I got the Saints, the Titans, the Indianapolis Colts, and the Browns, all overpaying for unproven talent. One of the Saints players just came to Cleveland, but it's for 1 year as a tight end. I don't know if any other people swapped around with those teams. I don't think so. The Titans, y'all know that's Cam Ward team. He back working out, posted on X, fresh out of rehab. So I just reshared it. People liked it on X. So I guess he had got injured at some point of the season. I know the Jaguars game, they said they thought he was injured. Whole nother conversation. And yeah, those 4 teams get ragged on for what? For overpaying for talent that's not proven. And that's exactly what the Browns did. So you can let people gaslight you. You have people out here gaslighting. Oh, Andrew Berry did a good job. No, he get a D- from me. He get a D from whoever be putting these stories together, and he gets a C from other people. So a C, a D, and a D-, that averages out to a D. That's a failure. The only reason why you don't have an F is because you actually did something. You actually executed some transactions. You actually got rid of the old problems, but you brought in some very potential new problems because you didn't get top talent, which is why you're not in the winners. And like the Texans, who's in the middle, not a winner or a loser, you didn't get younger on the O-line. Maybe Tevin Jenkins, but you won't even disclose his contract. Did you underpay him? Or did you overpay him? And one of the acquisitions they got a D for is the guy people keep talking about, Zion Johnson. I told y'all, that guy is horrible at one of the 2 skills that we need. And Titus Howard is bad at the other one. Titus is good at pass blocking. Zion is good at run blocking and awful, god-awful, 32-42 PFF for pass protection. And that's who they gave the money to in free agency. And Titus, who's missing the run blocking skill, is who they gave the money to in a trade. Why they can't trade Jerry Jeudy like that? Why they can't trade Jerry Jeudy like they did Titus for some draft picks, a 5th-round pick? The Browns failed to meet the objectives of the draft. They did not improve the O-line. They just swapped same for same. They didn't get any wide receivers, and people are holding out. Maybe they're going to get them in the draft. So they're going to use 10 picks on receivers in the draft. Why they didn't trade Jerry Jeudy and get a veteran who wasn't leading the league in drop passes? Why they didn't do that much? That's the least you could do. So the Browns failed to meet the objectives of the draft. They should have an F. I give them a D-. It just proves that they think we're not smart enough to see and look at the skill set of who they brought in, but they being dragged for it. Of course, they people over there in they orbit gonna talk them up, but no, they on the losers list. And they get a D for Zion Johnson's contract. Probably because his quarterback had been sacked 54 times. Why would you want somebody from over there? If y'all want to make that the Browns, the O-line work together as a team, why bring that team member? What do you want from this guy? What do you want him to do? Because his skill set, you can't expect excellent pass blocking because that's not who he is. And you knew this when you signed up for him. You could have had 3 guys that could do both, but that's not what you did. You got 1 guy that could do both, but he 30. You know what this tells me? You actually sat down and thought about how to fuck this up. You did. That's what you did. The goal is not to win probably more than 6 games. And we don't know who's going to be playing those 6 games because the Browns refuse to commit to a quarterback. And Shedeur could get the toughest stretch again at the, back half of the season like he did before. And Deshaun or whoever else they bring in, Kyler Murray, Taylor Green, anybody, somebody, Mac Jones, I don't know, could actually be at the beginning where Dillon and Flacco were and Pickett was expected to be. They actually sat down and thought about how to screw this up so we don't get protection for the quarterback this year, which is why all of those guys have 3-year contracts. I don't know what Tevin has with out after year 2, because now you got to go out here and tap dance for me. And if you don't, you're not going to see the rest of this money. Just your guaranteed money. And when you leave, your PFF going to be in the dirt, like Cornelius Lucas, who came through the door with a 70, high 70, 80 PFF and left with a 42. Because that's what you expected to do. The Browns get a D- for failing to meet the objectives of free agency to upgrade with top-tier talent, the O-line, and the wide receiver room. So they just gaslighting over there. They just gaslighting everybody. That's just all it is. So in closing, the Browns have a reputational problem. We've been talking all day. People are saying, oh, players don't want to come here. You can't make them come here. You're right. You can't make a player play for Cleveland. But the fact that too many of them don't want to come to Cleveland, too many of the top talented players that can choose for themselves would rather go play in the cold in Chicago or Minnesota or Buffalo. It says what? The Browns have a reputational problem with the players. And since you have fans constantly calling you out for sabotage of your very own quarterback, and now a petition seeking accountability or new ownership, you have a reputational problem with the fans. And then you have analysts, professional analysts, giving you a D for consistently wasting money on an O-line, which means you're not serious about protecting your own quarterback, which explains why you always seem to get quarterbacks who are conveniently being colluded against by the league itself. And now you want to throw Taylor Green into that mix? You won't commit to Shedeur? Kyler Murray just sitting over there and 32 teams don't need him. That just screams further collusion because he's already being colluded against. So it makes sense for him to end up in Cleveland because that's what they do. And then there's Deshaun. Somebody's movement is restricted. He's technically a hostage. And they just want to put the quad or the trio of all black quarterbacks together to appear, hey, we're not racist, when in fact they actually are, because they're quietly sabotaging and colluding against every last quarterback. Because it doesn't matter who the quarterback is in Cleveland, after the free agency moves they've made to date, they're not being protected. They don't have any weapons because they didn't have none last year. They didn't get rid of the league leader of dropped passes. You didn't get top talent on the O-line. So once again, weapons and protections, you have failed the objective of free agency to get top talent. And if you say you don't have no money, then somebody need to be fired for wasting the money, because Joel Bitonio contract just voided and went to the dead cap space, adding another $26 million. So it's incompetence with the money. It's incompetence with the talent. And it is malfeasance to always be the receiver of quarterbacks who are being colluded against, and their quarterbacks their careers go to Cleveland to die. But Dillon can get out. Flacco, Pickett can get out. Baker Mayfield can get out. But all the black quarterbacks get devalued. Jameis Winston got out for less than what he was when he was there. And that's what they want to do to Shedeur. So he could be traded like Geno Smith for a 6th-round pick and go to another team where they could justify a competition. But the only competition I've heard about in the NFL this year is in Cleveland. Nobody else seems to be competing. Not Tyler Shaw, not Jackson Dart, not Daniel Jones, who just got a $88 million contract after failing for 6 years in a row. After they pushed Anthony Richardson out, who just got drafted. He might not even be in the league next year. Nobody's talking about him, only but to come to Cleveland. So let me see what y'all are thinking about the winners and losers, the Ravens GM who should be fired for either malicious behavior or reckless behavior, but it's harmful behavior to the player reputation for Max Crosby for misrepresenting his health status. If not, the Raiders are lying. So who's lying? I'm going to go with the team that gave Mark Andrews, who's $39 million, and didn't give Isaiah Likely anything. Even when he offered to lower his contract amount to stay in Baltimore, they weren't interested. Let's see how they take care of Lamar Jackson. So the Browns are on the losing side to date. Andrew Berry going to get fired like I said he is, right after they use him to make an asinine move where the quarterbacks are concerned. I don't even think they trust him in the draft next year, considering they seem to be lining up the dominoes quietly to get Arch Manning, who the Jets are publicly saying that they want to get. 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other. They both equal 6. Please like, hype, and subscribe. Falcons, facts. It said, while we wait for Nola Girl, give us the skinny. Oh, that's so funny. Get your popcorn and green tea ready. I know that's right. Thank you so much. Hey, Bobby, how you doing? Welcome. Nikki, welcome back. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you, fam, for hanging out tonight. Y'all let me know what y'all think about the winners and losers and the Browns being labeled a loser because of the Zion Johnson trade, as well as the other linemen who are not proven, and the fact that they did not prioritize and get any wide receivers. It said the starters are all brothers. I hope they do the right thing. I know that's right, Ms. Pamela, but see, that's a whole nother story right there, right? So what does this say? That, yes, the Browns are a revolving door, but a dumpster fire and a revolving door for black quarterbacks. The black quarterbacks get moved right out with lesser than they were when they were there, put into ridiculous, impossible situations. Straight up sabotage is what we saw with Shedeur, right? So what does it say? That the Browns, who have never drafted a black quarterback in the first round ever, seemingly do not value, from just observation standpoint in their own behavior and transactions, seemingly do not value black quarterbacks, because Andrew Berry verbally devalued Malik Willis. And we already know he devalued Shedeur Sanders by saying his skill set was dated And the Browns didn't teach him a damn thing at that point. Definitely not after the Panthers game, because they didn't help him. He had to fend for himself and went out there and made surgical throws while all being humiliated and isolated in public. They cannot take credit for anything other than sabotaging the young man. So how is it that the Browns seemingly are not black quarterback friendly? Decide to move out a mostly white O-line that was overpaid and bring in a black O-line that's overpaid. And what is the point of that? Because if you don't like black quarterbacks, you don't really care for black linemen, do you? So what is it you expect from a group of people that you do not value, period, only to use to your benefit, such as Andrew Berry with his Harvard education, firing Sashi Brown because he wanted to get Lamar Jackson. So you don't value black people. That's what it's giving. That's what your own behavior is giving. So if that's the case, why pony up all of your money for a group of people you don't value that's aging and unproven on the O-line and black? What is your goal? What is your goal? That's a valid question. So when I saw that the Browns were labeled losers of free agency and got a D, and then a D for Zion Johnson, and I gave them a D minus, I feel spot on. I know what the hell I'm talking about. So I'm going to keep talking. So thank you for that, Miss Pamela. I'm like you. I hope they get together and defy the stupidity that they will be asked to perform. Because I believe that's why they got the bag, because they don't value that group of people. I just finished listening to Titus Howard interview with Nathan, Cleveland Browns media. He has a great stats and versatile. I'm going to tell you something. They seem like good guys. I wish them well. That's the same tone for the interview for Cornelius Lucas last year, and he gone. Buy into it if you want to. Is 68 gone? I believe so, Nisi. I didn't see him at all on the depth chart. He's not in any of the conversations. So they seemingly are moving on from the O-line that was dirt diving and underperforming, and people realized it was intentional. Whether it's Joel Bitonio, Jack Conklin, or Cam Robinson. Now, KT Levinston is still over there at the 3. Let's see what happens. He was at 3 last season and ended up at the 1. So let's see how useful he is. Thank you so much. It said, well, go ahead, miss. It said, bring it out. It said, we want to see the throwback cheerleading pictures. Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. It said, I'm learning football because of you. What she said. It said, shake them haters off. We love Nola Girl. Thank you so much. Thank you, Nikki. Appreciate you, fam. It said, bye, Watson. Yeah, I don't know. I don't. So I feel like somebody going to go somewhere. I guess maybe it's Dylan and Deshaun. See, my thing is, I feel like they trying to gas Deshaun up because, I mean, he could be traded. I mean, Deshaun and Shedeur can be traded. Why? Because Deshaun now makes $1 million, which is close to the league minimum. How long he been in the league? Since 17, 18, somewhere there? Or maybe longer than that, but he's been around for a minute. And while he's not a free agent, his salary is only $1 million. But I think if he gets traded, somebody has to be able to absorb the salary cap. Now, let me understand this. Shedeur, that's not a problem. His contract being devalued, while that's terrible, his contract could work in his favor because he could easily be traded because anybody can absorb his contract. Dallas, Atlanta. No, not happening. I just felt sick when I said that. But the point is, anybody can absorb Shedeur's contract. And Minnesota is ready to move off of J.J. McCarthy. And people keep saying Minnesota. But if Minnesota wanted to get Kyler Murray, would they have done it already? It's not his contract because Tua was gone first. And Stefanski and the Falcons moving on Tua like that, leaving behind a dead cap space, makes me feel like they knew the only people that will be left is Geno Smith and Kyler Murray. And now Geno goes back to the team that drafted him, and both of them in the Epstein files. So that's Kyler Murray. And he just sitting. 32 teams not interested in him like they weren't interested in Lamar in free agency. This is collusion. This is collusion. Now, Max Crosby situation, it could be reckless or it could be collusion. We're going to have to wait and see how it goes. If there's no accountability for the GM behavior, the Costa, then maybe it was premeditated in this collusion because he thought he could make a decision for himself. So they seemingly let him leave with no real intent of getting him a bait and switch, and sent him back to the team that he didn't want to be with, teaching him, you don't have no choices around here. I will remind you who he's friendly with. Let's see what happens. It said, will Shedeur get his number 2 this year? Now, that's the question. Is he going to even be there? I keep saying I think he's going to be there because he's number 1 on their depth chart, and it is updated. And they could have put Watson at the 2, but they got Dillon. I think the moment free agency opened and that depth chart was updated with those new players, I think the people who are in this industry looked at it and freaked out. Shedeur is at the 1, so they just going to constantly pick and tear at him because he's sitting at the 1 with Deshaun at the 3. So now the narrative is, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think Deshaun going to be the starter. What would make you think that? You just think it because you think it? Do you have any evidence? But Adam Schefter pretty much know what he's talking about. Just like he said, the Browns were taking the quarterback at number 2 overall, and that was Shedeur. And then what happened? It flipped it on its head. So while I've never seen Adam Schefter lie per se, like he was the one that came out and told us that the Baltimore Ravens and the Philadelphia Eagles, but the Ravens for sure wanted to get Shedeur, he omitted something. He didn't tell you it was at 144. He made it seem like Shedeur had an opportunity to go be QB1 or QB2 in Cleveland when he did not. Now, I checked the Ravens depth chart, and it's updated. And, of course, Lamar's at the 1. Huntley is at the 2, who Cleveland wanted to bring and make a 4. Know your worth. Know your worth. And they moved Cooper Rush to the 3, so that tell me he might get moved out, depending on his contract structure. So Huntley made it after being kicked out of Cleveland twice, playing in his face to another team, and he's the primary backup. So the Costa needs to be fired. And there's a whole lot of people pushing that right now. So let's see what happens in a couple of days. It said the Cleveland fans need to be ready to boycott. It said, here we go again with another year of sabotage, only this time with blackface. Right. And see, what does that say? So you placating to people? You placating to people? Kind of like they did when the tickets was $6 and they got out with the Outcast, Big Boy from Outcast to do the halftime show. I never saw that show. I never saw that show. Because black people stayed away, or they knew their actual fans, who they consider the white people, wasn't coming to the game. So they're like, let me bring the black people in. And since that happened last year, let's start the way we finished. Just get some black O-linemen and the black people will come. That's what I mean. What else you doing? You swap same for same. The Texans said they were getting younger and did, and you took somebody that was aging from over there. Who said, I knew this trade was going to happen because they want to get younger, the Texans. So why the Browns don't want to get younger? Maybe they'll want to get younger next year. It looks like 68 is still there. I don't know. He's not even on the depth chart, and he's not in any conversation. I think he's to be replaced. It's that Jack Stroud does not have good stats in the New Orleans Saints. This will be his 4th team. Oh, Lord. Well, I knew it wasn't good coming from the Saints. I was like, oh, okay, so you're going to send a tight end from the Saints. I mean, you can't unsee the Mark Andrews in this situation. You just can't unsee it. Let's see what happened. And what did I tell y'all they said? Harold Fanning Jr. is the tight end of the future. I'm like, well, who's the tight end of now? Who's the tight end of now? You just let Njoku go for this guy. And Njoku is supposed to be a hot commodity out here now. Let's see what happens. Again, Devin Bush gone, and Njoku gone, Wyatt Teller gone, Tony Brown gone, Flacco gone. All of these people gravitated towards Shedeur. It said 12 will do the damn thing this season, family. Right. He gonna make the best of what he's given. In some respects, I would rather him leave and go compete elsewhere just to get away from the toxicity. Right? The toxicity is the part that you don't see everywhere. Like, okay, the Browns are the Ravens are starting to appear to be one of the shadiest organizations out here in terms of doing the player dirty, right? Even more so for what they did that damn trade with Max Crosby. But you don't see the toxicity from the outside. The Browns, it's just all hanging out. Like your intestines hanging outside your body. It's just gross. It's just gross. The toxicity is gross in Cleveland. And they not missing a step with bringing it into 2026. They only placating. You think we didn't notice you swapped out a mostly overpaid white O-line that was aging and underperforming with an unproven, aging black O-line that's missing two of the major skill sets you need in each of the players? You think we didn't notice that? So you don't mean any good. And one of the telltale clues is you didn't do shit with Jerry Jeudy. You never benched him, and he's still over there. So it makes sense that you didn't get an elite O-line because you didn't get any elite receivers. Well, that's how you know. But you went and prioritized the tight end that you didn't need to prioritize. That's not even on the list of objectives. You failed at both of the objectives. The wide receiver and upgrading that damn O-line. And you did neither. So to hell with you. Shedeur just gonna have to make the best of what God gave him while he's there, because they're not trying to help. They're not trying to protect whoever the quarterback is in Cleveland. It could be Dillon, but I bet they protect for him like Fort Knox with the little skill set they have. Because we saw it last year. In one game, we watched the Ravens defense go at Shedeur like the Tasmanian devil, and we watched the Browns O-line protect Dillon like Fort Knox while the Ravens defense was tiptoeing around Dillon. So somebody gave the word to switch it on up when it's Shedeur after the half, because why would they be different with Shedeur than they are with Dillon? Well, the Ravens not trying to win, and I told y'all they're going to fire Zachary Orr, and he's gone. That's why you don't play their little games. So heads up to all them dudes that they just got on the O-line, including Tevin Jenkins. If you want to go out here with a worse PFF and nobody wants you, then listen to them. But if you want to try to survive this, then listen to me. Y'all better get together and get in the group chat amongst yourselves and find a way, since the O-line is looked at as a unit, to win and not appear to be sabotaging your quarterback, because this is going to cost you your career. Where the rest of the guys that sabotaged Shedeur last year? And some of them were white. Y'all not white. Don't do it. Call an audible or something. Don't do it. Throw up a flag. Do something. But don't do it to your career. Somebody said, thank God Cam Robinson is gone. It said, if I were nephew 12 legendary Pro Bowler, Shedeur Sanders to have a safe and great season. Facts. Facts. Absolute facts. It said, while we get our popcorn ready, AB, get your resume ready. Yeah, AB is definitely being fired. If they have him over there next year, I'll be shocked. I think after he make this jaw-dropping shakeup, which why are they telling what he working on behind the scenes? You see? They don't mean him no good, and he doing their bidding. People thought he was playing chess. He was playing himself. He wasn't playing chess at all. He was just playing himself. So we going to see. It said, remember, Ozzie Newsome stepped down as the Ravens GM, and that's when the BS started. Yup, that's facts. You can't stay in those jobs long when they expect you to set up and devalue financially and position-wise people that only look like you while you overpay white players. You can't stay in that position long, and they know that, unless they feel like you're compromised. And then they just gonna use you for what you're worth, or to hide behind as a shield, and they're gonna kick you out. That's just what it is. It said Hendrickson signed with the Ravens, then pulled a slick move with Crosby. And remember, Crosby was kind to Shedeur, and the Raiders played against the Browns after the game. No, yeah. Max Crosby is cool with the Sanders. He talks about it all the time. It's the AB ain't going nowhere. It's that Ravens don't look good so far. Coach, I don't know what you be holding on to, but it's nice to see you. It's the AB doing the wobble, baby. Not okay. See that's your problem right there. The wobble. See that's it right there. No. No, he needs to do. If you want to go back there to the left, that's what he need to do. Get his shit and go to the left. Whatever Beyonce said. No, coach. Y'all, what y'all think? Coach say Andrew Berry doing the wobble. No, absolutely not. Instead, I bet those white quarterbacks will have a good O-line. You know it. Because think about it. Think about it. They just sent Tyler Linderbaum, is that his name? Made him the highest paid offensive lineman, period. And he went where? To Vegas, where they're expected to get the number one player in the draft. I have said it. Jackson Dart has Fort Knox protecting him. The Saints will come back to them. And now seems that the Vegas Raiders spent $200 million in free agency on day one of just negotiations to put a team together expecting to get Mendoza. So they laying out the red carpet to protect Mendoza by bringing in Tyler Linderbaum. He's not going to be the only one, right? And they not bringing him in for sabotage. Not at that money. Not at that money. And why he making $81 million? I don't even think there's one lineman. I think Titus Howard is the only one making that kind of money, and it's $63 million. And he said it out of his own mouth. Yeah, I knew a trade was coming because they want to get younger. Why didn't the Browns want to get younger on the O-line? Why not? The Browns are not putting a team together on offense to protect the quarterback. I don't know what their plans are with this little tight end that they brought in. But Monken in the tight end situation is just giving Andrew. So we're going to see what happened with the tight end that crushed Shedeur finger. Right? Is this new guy going to be expected to be Blake Whiteheart or to be, Mark Andrews? He's supposed to be good at pass protection. So we made sure to bring in a tight end that's good at pass protection, but not all the O-linemen be good at pass protection. And they trying to win with that? No, you're not trying to win. You just out here overpaying for unproven talent. That's why they got a D. And they got a D- for me. Oh, the Donkey of the Day segment. Okay, thank you. I'll look for it. The Browns definitely get the Donkey of the Day. The Browns, I gave it to the Baltimore Ravens on day one and day two with that Max Crosby trade and excuses. And day three is the Browns because they failed to reach the objective for the damn free agency. I don't see one receiver. There's little to no cap space left. You won't commit to a quarterback and you overpaid an unproven talent on the O-line, period. With quarterbacks being sacked combined over 100 times in one season. And all you did was switch their skin color. That's it. And we don't like that. Because you're trying to play in somebody's face. Not sure who it is. Because we're not fighting for it. You could have did better. You could have overpaid for real talent. Since you wanted to give out money, why you just didn't get Rasheed Wallace? He one of the best offensive tackles in the damn free agency, and you got somebody off his team that the team didn't want because he aging out. No disrespect to none of those guys. I'm happy they all got their bag. But they gonna learn because they clearly about to be asked to do some things for the money. Because why overpay them for nothing? They're gonna take the blame for something. I don't know what it is yet. And whoever the quarterback is, make sure you have an intimate relationship with Jesus before the season starts. All right. It said the Browns can't afford to pay an elite veteran, and most veterans probably don't want to come play. And well, that's the Browns' reputational problem with the players, and they already have a reputational problem with the fans. And it's not going to get any better because the Browns are still on the same saboteur path that they were with Stefanski. They're still doing it without Stefanski. They're not protecting the quarterback, not giving him any weapons that he could trust. And it don't matter who the quarterback is unless it's Dylan. And we already saw how they switch it up when it's Dylan. It said, I hope the draft picks aren't wasted. I don't know what you think they're going to do with them. They have 10 draft picks. The Browns have 10 draft picks. The O-line is pretty much set with the exception of one. They don't have much cap space left. Don't know. Probably going to get somebody in the draft, but probably the 5th round? Who knows, right? I mean, they have talented people. See, people think this is new for the Browns. I watched the Raw Road, and they talked about 2016 when Deshaun Kaiser was there. They said that team was stacked with talent. They didn't want to win. They didn't want to win with Deshaun Kaiser. They fired the GM who wanted to get Lamar when he was there. After that, they're not new to having talented people. That's what people don't understand. This is not new behavior. It said the Jets are a trash organization. They can't be more trash than the Browns. I mean, they at least got some top-tier talent, even though they're not trying to win. Not this year. At least they put it out there. I mean, you know what? For as much as people want to rag on the Jets, let me just say this, okay? At least they got some top-tier talent. At least they doing something to at least give the appearance that I'm trying to win. The Browns, just put some bodies out there so they can watch it on TV. We don't really care. We don't even want to play at that stadium anyway. We just broke ground on the new stadium. The Browns act like they don't care at all. That's why I think the players don't want to play there, because they were the number 2 defense, and they let their defensive coordinator walk after they played in his face and made him think he was going to be the head coach, and Harbaugh spilled the beans. Harbaugh said it. The Browns were there the whole time, which meant they was playing in Schwartz's face, and they probably got him, like Blake Whiteheart, to do some things. And where is he? Where's Batonio? Go. Just use, abuse, and dismiss, bro. Let's see where these people end up. Everyone is taken for an unproven Arch Manning. It's going to backfire. Yeah, we're going to see. That's going to be interesting. I don't even think they care about the level of play from that kid. I think what they trying to do, see, Shedeur brings the Sanders legacy, and it brings eyeballs. That's what they want to do with the Manning kid. They want to make things great again with bringing him in and using the last name. Because remember before the Epstein files came out, we were talking. I'm like, have y'all noticed Peyton Manning on all the commercials? And that stopped. That stopped. Yep. And then Geno Smith is in there, and he ends up with the owner that's in there from the Jets. Yep. So if they can trade Geno Smith, they can trade Shedeur and get a late round pick, because they're not going to trade him for a first round pick. But to start putting out there that they're not counting on Shedeur. I knew that. I knew Rizzo knew what he was talking about, because that's the conversation somewhere behind the scenes. See, Rizzo and the other lady, Mary Cabot, they clearly feeding her misinformation, because she been wrong so many times. I'm pretty sure they feeding her misinformation. And Rizzo always aligns with what's taking place. And he claimed to be a big Shedeur fan, right? And it seemed like he and the Tony Grossi guy were playing good cop, bad cop. But when it comes out of Grossi and Rizzo and Mary Cabot, Rizzo, that's, for whatever reason, he got some inside, right on up to the owner information. And then I know Adam Schefter does. You could just tell the information that he comes back with. I never forget, last year before the draft, Adam Schefter reported on, I think I started on Threads, and he reported that the Browns pre-draft strategy had been approved, or the Browns draft strategy had been approved. And I had never heard that before. I'm like, why the hell would the Browns draft strategy have to be approved? They think Andrew Berry's stupid. In fact, they said he was going to get scammed out of his picks. And the only other person they told what to do was Mike Tomlin, and he gone. So guess who next? Unless Andrew Berry is truly beneficial for the use of his melanin. But we gonna see. We gonna see this year because I don't think he gonna get a pass. I don't think he gonna get a pass. Don't think Geno had a choice in the matter. I don't either. It's they get rid of who? Yeah, you were just a hater, bro. It's okay though. We gonna help you see the dough. Ain't no way Justin Fields worth the first round pick. He's not good. I don't know if you could say Justin Fields not good because you talk about somebody from Chicago been set up from year one, and I don't think they like the fact that he left Pittsburgh last year and went over to the Jets to be the starter. They thought he was going to be. They thought they had him pigeonholed in Cleveland, and he was going to compete with Shedeur. Justin Fields and Shedeur keep getting pigeonholed together. Right now, they're both tier 6 quarterbacks on the NFL page. So I think that was the Jets' way of holding Justin Fields hostage for this year because Geno Smith is considered a bridge quarterback. See, the Jets letting it be known. We don't want none of them. We want to get this kid next year. The Jets letting it be known. The Browns are pretending. I don't know why they pretending. They scared to say out loud, and they gonna do it through the radio station like they did last year. Start tracking the college stats to and put Arch Manning at the top as if he's entitled to it. That's how they treat Arch Manning, like he's entitled to be number one to win the Heisman. That's why they didn't want Trinidad Shamblers back in college. They wanted to get him in the draft this year. And since he wanted to go back to school instead, the NCAA waited until the combine was over to present that 650-page document to try to get Trinidad kicked out of school after the combine so he can't go to the NFL or to college. So they're trying to get him in limbo. Now, you tell me that ain't dirty. And that's the NCAA. Now it's coming out that SEC schools want to move away from the NCAA. Do what you got to do, and the rest of them need to join. They all need to get the hell away from the NCAA. I have never seen a more malicious organization towards the athletes that they are supposed to protect. And that's not what they do. They are the biggest enemy. And in this situation with Trinidad Shamblers, it serves them right that the SEC, one of the biggest conferences, wants to move away and is leading the charge to get away from the NCAA. And the rest of the conferences need to join. That shit is ridiculous. It's like they don't mean these kids nothing but harm. Don't want them to make no money. Don't want them to excel. Just want to, and they working with other people. It is not in the NCAA's best interest or Ole Miss best interest or the players' best interest to kick Trinidad out now after he gets an injunction. After you done gave people 7, 8, and 9 years. They gave, what's his name? The one that's, I think, coming out in the draft that I don't hear nobody talking about. The one that's working out with Johnny Manziel, I forget his name. They gave him 7 years. I think he went to Vanderbilt or somewhere. I don't know. I got it, Miss Pamela. Thank you. It's the Aaron Glenn trying to focus on what he's known for defense. He still needs to improve the offense. So you think that's what it is? He wanted to leave. I think he might feel a little dejected because he said it. There's no way I can win here. And they don't want him to win. They don't. Ty Simpson not going top 15. No way. They said the Jets could get him for the second round pick. We'll see. He could come to Cleveland. You never know. Fields was a high draft pick. He was. He really was. Is Kyler Murray going to Minnesota? I mean, Coach, I would think if Kyler Murray were going to Minnesota, he would be gone. What they waiting on? $1 million contract? What you waiting on? He the league minimum. The fact that nobody picked him up seems like they try to humiliate him more so. Because if you got Tua leaving $99 million in dead cap space, why don't you have Kyler Murray? He's not leaving $99 million in dead cap space. Again, collusion. I'm like, we seeing all this collusion just all come together all at once. So whoever ends up with Kyler Murray already knew the date of day one of negotiations ahead of free agency that they was getting Kyler Murray. They just letting him sit there like they did Lamar Jackson and Shedeur Sanders. CJ Stroud is not the problem. Oh, no. CJ Stroud is not the problem at all. They got rid of his OC after he was successful. They did the same thing this offseason to Jada Daniels. Got rid of his OC that he had when he was successful. I keep telling y'all, CJ Stroud sophomore year, Jada Daniels sophomore year. CJ is a year ahead of Daniels, and it's going right on schedule. Whatever's happening to one, already, it's like they got a book. There must be a secret chart somewhere. Shedeur is aligned with either Malik Willis or Jameis Winston or Lamar Jackson. Whatever scripts they got for them, they got Shedeur name on one of them. And his changes because he got 20 million fans, so they have to adjust accordingly. Everybody else, like CJ and Jaden, it's just the same. It's just the same. And they already got Taylor Green on the Lamar Jackson package. Asked him to work out as a wide receiver. He said no, he wants to work out as a quarterback. Next thing you know, they trying to get him to Cleveland. AB equals B. It said, wait until the draft, Queen. It said, these players are very good in a real way. 12 wins, the playoff. Yeah, we're going to see. We're going to see. We're going to see. The Browns need remedial organization training. I know that's right. Pamela say Haslam is biased. I think so, too. I don't think he values Black people. It just seems like he uses them. Free agency officially started today. They only have $8 million in cap space left. I mean, they could make some trades. I mean, I suspect they get ready to make a trade. That's what I suspect. That's why I said, is Shedeur going to be gone? Because the same way Geno Smith left is the same way Shedeur can leave. And in Minnesota, see, what y'all got to think about is what the Browns are getting ready to go through. Notice at the end of when Monkey came in, they was already talking about all this competition. When was the last word you heard the word? The last time you heard the word competition? All of a sudden, within the last 1 to 3 days, it's a big pivot. And now the Browns are counting on Shedeur, which means they have plans for somebody other than him. And then Schefter, who's on the national insider side, is saying he thinks that Deshaun gonna start the season. But let's see how this goes. But there are people who believe that Deshaun will start the season. Who y'all think he's talking about? He ain't talking about no low-level analysts. He's not talking about no podcasters. Adam Schefter comes from information very high up. And sometimes they switch, and I don't think he knows. But only thing I've seen him do is just not be, I feel like he omitted some things when he tried to paint the picture that the Ravens wanted to get Shedeur as if Shedeur was the reason for the way he was being treated in Cleveland. And I said, but you didn't bring up the fact that they wanted to get him as 144. See, nobody wanted to talk about Shedeur being a top talent. And the way that they're suppressing Justin Fields seems to be the same way they're suppressing Shedeur. I don't even know if they're going to give him an opportunity to compete now because they are pivoting on their language. And then there's this big shakeup that ain't happened yet. And they have about $7 million in cap space left. Sending anybody somewhere with a 6th-round pick, like they did Flacco, you have to hope and pray the other team see your value and you get to start. But it's probably going to be through injury or you a bridge QB. A bridge QB is a step up from Flacco starting because Burrow was injured. But Flacco been in the league about 20 years, so he don't expect much. Shedeur is just starting his career, and they already seem to be trying to put a lid on it. That's just what it is. That's just what it is. Remember, all money ain't good money. It says the Stefanski regime is gone, Queen. It's the new Cleveland now. Absolutely not, Anthony. The owner is the culprit. Just like in Baltimore, the GM is the culprit. You plainly see that now with this botched trade with Max Crosby. The owner is the culprit in Cleveland. Everybody knows Andrew Berry don't have no real power. He's just used as a scapegoat like they did with the Deshaun Watson contract, right? Like they made you try to think that Andrew Berry drafted Shedeur. No, he didn't. He didn't take him off the board, so he couldn't put him back on it. So that's some crap. Y'all gotta stop letting these people gaslight y'all. Another great show. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes, Shedeur's contract is the reason why he could move around. Step and Fetch Speakeasy says Shedeur has no excuses now that he has a good O-line to work with. Oh, Lord Jesus. Wow, what happened? What happened over there? Lord, Murray don't want to come to Cleveland, and we don't want him. First of all, it's a lot of people don't want to come to Cleveland. Selmo, don't get mad. You know the Browns have a reputational problem with the players, and now with the fans and the players. So I don't know why. I don't know what Kyler Murray gonna end up. They just gonna let him sit there to the last day, apparently, or to make it seem like, well, you're not valuable. I mean, I think he's on the Russell Wilson fast track out. That's what I think. 1 year for $10 million. Let's see if he gets it. Let's see if I'm right. 12 is listed as QB1. His price tag went up. Yesterday's prices on today's prices. That's a valid point. So when I showed y'all the depth chart, Shedeur's over here at the 1, Dylan the 2, Deshaun the 3. Before you say it's not updated, yes, it is. It is true. How can you usher Shedeur out the door with a 6th-round pick if he's sitting at your 1? And I said I believe the reason for all of this sudden talk around free agency is because the depth chart was updated with the new guys, and Shedeur is still at the 1. I don't hear any more talk about the competition. But based on the transactions that were made, failing to meet the objectives of free agency with upgrading the O-line and bringing in wide receivers, but you got a tight end from the Saints of all people, I think Shedeur's QB1. I think all of this is for him. They gaslit the Deshaun Watson fans at the end of last season by saying he going to get his evaluation period to play. He never did. Now he's sitting at the 3 behind Dylan. So are they gaslighting the Deshaun Watson fans again? I mean, we hate to see that, meaning he never going to get a real opportunity because they're going to get rid of Dylan and put somebody else in there. Maybe Kyler Murray. Maybe Taylor Green. Maybe Ty Simpson. Because Ty Simpson does not pose a threat to Arch Manning next year in Cleveland, if that's who they end up with, because that's who they are quietly setting up the dominoes for. All right, so we're going to get out of here. I hope y'all enjoyed this one. I thought this one was good. What quarterbacks do we want to look at next? All right, we're still in free agency. We're going to be in free agency for a minute. We got 17 quarterbacks to discuss. We've discussed Shedeur. We're going to discuss Shedeur all the time. So it's really 16 people that we're looking at. Y'all want to talk about Cam Ward and see what they have going on with the Titans next? Or do you want to look at one of the winners of free agency and take a closer look at the type of skill level that they brought in to see how they are putting together a winning team? We just looked at the Jets. They were on the list. The Rams, maybe. Matt Stafford. We'll look at the Rams. And, well, he not playing. But what's another? Philadelphia. I haven't heard much. What about on the next podcast tomorrow night, 10:35 p.m. Eastern Standard Time? What about if we look at Cam Ward and Jalen Hurts to see what their teams are doing to become contenders for the Super Bowl? What y'all think about those two up next? I like that idea. Let me know your thoughts. Yeah, I like that idea. And if you're just not joining us, don't forget, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Hype me up. Hype me up. All right. So don't forget, guys. All right. So I'm going to check to see what y'all decided in terms of who we should look at next. Let's see what y'all saying. Hey, Political Lil, hit the like button. Rams, Philly, and the Titans. Okay. So we'll go down that road. Okay, Rams, Philly, and Titans, and Political Lil said Philly. So it's a done deal. Philly, the Titans, and yeah, we'll look at Matt Stafford and the Rams. We'll look at the historic 16 plus Shedeur, 17-32. But we'll take a look at the Rams, right? We'll just look at the whole damn league. But we'll just take a look at Yeah, I want to see what the Rams got going on. They kind of quiet over there, right? And I hadn't heard much about Philly. And we know after they won the Super Bowl, they gutted that team. Now it's Baltimore's turn, and we always got to keep our eye out for Lamar Jackson because supposedly he's supposed to have some negotiations and contract talk. So we'll be back tomorrow night, guys. I hope you enjoyed the information, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed y'all's company and your engagement, and we'll be back tomorrow night. Thanks for watching What She Said Sports. Good night, everybody. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Hype me up. Hype me up.